Hello, welcome back to the Fine Print Podcast. I am your host, Zubair,
And I'm your co-host Sani.
and today we are going to discuss what the vehicle to get anything you want really in the financing world, which is the pitch deck. And
Yes, the
yeah,
most essential part of any startup. Any Anytime a startup is formed and it's looking for funding or trying to put itself out there, the pitch deck is going to be the first thing anyone asks for.
yeah, the reason for plenty sleepless nights.
And a lot of hair pulling. But luckily, we're here to show you a simple and effective pitch deck that has raised effectively billions and billions of dollars passed down to us through mentors and fellow startup individuals. So stay tuned. Zubair, cue the jingle. Alrighty, welcome back. So I think we're gonna run through this pretty quickly. It's just 11 slides. The pitch deck, me and Zubair have always thought about it to be something complicated, but recently we've realized that simple is effective. And a lot of these VCs, investors, and whoever is reading your pitch deck, they have short attention spans, especially in today's world. So you need quick info with just simple arrows pointing to what you want, what's going on, and that's it. No fancy animations, no crazy things going on, just direct and to the point. And that brings us to slide number one, which is simply you state your company name, a single
Yeah, but
sentence.
before you go into it, maybe we should define what a pitch deck is, and also tie it back to there isn't one pitch deck, one size fits all. Basically, your pitch deck is you tailor your pitch deck depending on what it is you're trying to achieve. So if you're dealing with an angel investor, is a different pitch deck you use than the one that you're doing a Series A, for instance. Do you agree?
Yeah. So definitely pitch decks will vary. These that we're going to talk about will mainly be for really beginner startups. Once you're
Okay.
in series A, B, C, or D, we'll probably come looking for your own advice. But
Yeah.
yeah, by then, once you reach a series B or A, you probably already have marketing experts that would configure the pitch deck for you. But this is the most basic. I'm looking for pre-seed, seed,
All right.
and seed plus.
Okay. So what we're going to go through today is the pre-seed, seed, and seed plus stage, where there isn't necessarily a lot of market validation. And I think you're going to get to that point, but we're going to avoid things like projections and complex market research.
Well, I think projections are still necessary because people need to know, or investors like to see what the market is looking like. What size of the market is there in your country, in your region, globally. They want to know what slice of the cake are you aiming for as well, and why are you even entering this business. So I think we did meet a lot of projected revenue questions when we were raising at first. Of course, now we have a lot of revenue to show, but they still come up in these questionnaires, uh, you know, regularly.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, just
Yeah.
as a quick summary, pitch deck is just a quick. Usually, it's 3 minutes. That's what they've been drilling into us at Atlanta Tech Village. They try to keep you under 3 minutes, because anything above 3 minutes, uh, if you can't explain your company and how you're solving things in 3 minutes, then what are you even doing, bro? So, yeah, the first slide is just going to be the company name and a quick single sentence description of the company. And then you would just put your logo in and month and year and the round. So immediately the first thing people see is they want to know what the company name is. So it sticks in the mind. They need to see your logo clearly. They need to see where you're from or where the company is based, and what round you're in. So that's a problem that I've faced multiple times. Is I go through a pitch deck, and the host would ask, "What company was this?" And then half of the people remember the company name. So you have to reinforce, 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 reinforce. Logo has to be everywhere on every slide, and the company name has to be boldly stated, where you're from as well, and what you want, which year you want it in as well.
Okay.
So good, Zubair?
Yeah.
All right. Slide number 2, which is an optional kind of slide. I usually skip it, but we'll keep it in here just because it's part of our sort of template. This is the thesis slide. You state your mission, vision clearly. How do you see the world as compared to everyone else? Again, it has to be very, very, very brief and simple. Now, the favorite slide of mine, the problem slide. You need to clearly state your problem in just one sentence. My preferred way is to have a little picture here and there of all of the problems with quick little sentences underneath. What are the implications of these problems? How often are they seen in society? A lot of times when we're presenting the problem slide, people criticize that you're not uh, pushing a lot of emotions onto the problem. So if you just say, oh, this is problem X and this is, who faces it, people don't get attached to it. You need to say, oh, my mom used to experience problem X. And because my mom constantly, had this problem, I now did research and found that many, many other people experience problems like this. So that drove me to help, people like my mom and others and stuff like that. So people now get attached to that. Okay, this is somebody's good son, is trying to spread kindness in society. So being the kind of emotionless human being I am sometimes, I would just come out and state the problem.
Yeah. So from what you're saying, it's especially in the problem slide, it's all about the storytelling. It's all about
The
the presentation.
storytelling.
How
You have
you
to
are
tell it.
connecting with the
Yeah.
audience. You know? Do you know what this reminds me of? Wolf
What?
of Wall Street.
Ah,
You
yeah.
know the scene about selling the pen.
Sell me the pen. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's tying it to this pen is nice. This no, it's like imagine you're signing. Actually, imagine you finish raising your funds and you're able to raise millions well above what you were looking for, and you got good terms. Imagine using this pen to sign
Exactly.
those documents. But that's tying the emotion to the pen rather than just a thing. No, this is something that all of a sudden represents your triumph, and you're already very attached to it because you love the idea.
Yeah, you really have to dig deep into the emotions for the problem slide. And of course, cultures vary. Here in the US, people love storytelling, people love to feel something. They're used to that Hollywood drama and, touchy speeches. In Nigeria, for example, or the UK, it might not be the same. I haven't, done any pitch decks over there, but here,
Yeah,
people
I
love
think
the drama.
story is universal. Storytelling just it gets the best salesmen are storytellers. The best public speakers are storytellers. Just what differs is the tone. Morgan Freeman is just he tells stories. Even though I saw an interview with him, there's actually a science behind the pitch and the tone of his voice and how he finishes a sentence or a word that makes it very captivating. And he naturally has a nice voice, but it all comes still comes down to the ability to tell a story.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that funny Trevor Noah stand-up where Obama goes to Nelson Mandela to learn how to get his pitch or how to get his voice. I don't know if you've seen that, but it
No,
was it was it was really good. It was a great stand-up. Definitely
that explains a
recommend.
lot. So Barack learned it from Nelson. Okay,
I don't know
okay.
if that's historically accurate, but
No,
it's a really funny. It's a really funny one. Yeah. So to round up on the problem slide, just tell a great story, a deep one, as emotional as possible, but still keeping it simple, and you should be good. So the next slide, as you might have guessed, is going to be the solution slide. So again, you need to clearly state the solution to your problem and your edge or unfair advantage. And if you have a product demo, this would be a great time to show it. If not, your mock-ups or whatever, that would also be great too. So again, Zubair, any additions on the solution slide?
well, it's just and the emphasis on simplicity
Yeah, we
and
cannot
just
emphasize it more.
yeah, avoid technical jargon and just make it as simple and as relatable as possible. I think this reminds me of the Richard Branson quote where I can't remember the situation, but somebody asked him. I think it was a
I
startup
think
or
it
a
was
pitch.
Virgin Active, right? The guys came to pitch him Virgin Active, and they pitched it to him in like a minute, and he
Uh,
made up his decision.
there's one about keep it simple, stupid. Do you remember?
I do, but I'm not remembering the
Yeah, so
particular.
some young entrepreneurs asked him for advice.
Hmm.
They had a bunch of ideas they were playing with. They just wanted to know how his thought process on choosing his award-winning and killer ideas. And he turned around and went, "Keep it simple, stupid."
Yeah,
So
really,
yeah, that's
simplicity
what.
is king right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
So moving on, this is the market overview slide that we talked about in the beginning. You want to show everyone what size of cake is there available for them to slice out of. What are you projecting you can get out of this? Again, You don't have to go deep diving into this too much. You do need to do your homework, of course, but it's nothing that you would need some Harvard business degree to do. You just need basic research on
Yeah,
markets and how much you expect to grow with the market and things like that. While you're pitching this, they won't fact check you unless you're in, you know, a VC building and they're really trying to grill you, but you're just trying to induce. The whole point of pitch deck is to induce that initial FOMO into
yeah,
somebody that, look,
yeah,
you have this
exactly.
simple idea to this complicated problem, and this is the size of the market, and this is how much money you can make. So they're FOMOed enough to follow up with you. Once they're following up with you, you've gotten them, you know,
Yeah,
uh,
and I believe at the at this stage, the seed, pre-seed, seed plus, the market is very subjective because you haven't perfected your processes, you haven't your product isn't necessarily validated at that point, or your service. So you're not there's no certainty. So there's no science behind it. It's completely subjective. So it's just a matter of being reasonable and just try not to take the piss uh, on this slide because you can end up pissing somebody off.
Yeah, and to add to Zubair's point, one thing you can also do to make this slide easier is, usually we don't have unique ideas unless you inventing chat GPT type of idea. You're going to be one in town. But usually you would have a lot of different competitors which you can look at their, let's say, market share, how they've grown, and you can now sort of extrapolate from their data your own data, right? Of course, you're going to differentiate yourselves from them in, one way or the other, but most likely you're not going to have an incredibly, you know unique idea. It's going to be just a way you're making something better, as opposed to inventing a new wheel, uh, which, if you do have a new wheel invention, then you're going to need to put a bit more effort into the market overview slide. So, which actually merges well into the next slide. So, the why now slide is why is this a great time for your solution? Why is this a great time for your for your company to start? I'll give you an example. Let's take Airbnb or Uber. If Uber just launched 2 years before they did, they would have catastrophically failed. And the reason being is that people weren't so accustomed to apps. People weren't so mobile technology friendly yet. The market wasn't ready at the time for something like Uber. So things like Airbnb as well. We don't even think about Airbnb as a thing anymore. But if you think deeply, you're living in somebody else's house, which you got through an app. Now it's normal, but you tell somebody back then, like, hey, I'm gonna just, use an app and just get somebody's bedroom and go live in it. People are gonna be like, you're crazy, but the market and people's mindset has shifted to, okay, this is acceptable now. I can do that in society. It's normal. The people subscribing to clothes, the people getting Airbnbs,
What?
so, huh?
People subscribing to clothes. So
Yes.
is there an Uber type thing for clothes?
Well, not Uber type thing. There's a Spotify type thing for clothes. So you go online, you pay $99 a month, and then you pick like 6 or 8 different outfits, head to toe outfits, so shirt and pants and everything, and they send them to you. You use those 6 outfits for a month, and then you mail the clothes back and then get another 6 of your choice. So you never actually own the
What?
clothes. Yes, yes. And it's
What's the name?
crazy because actually, my wife tried out the service and she got 6 outfits mailed to her, and she just wears them around to test and then she mails them back. So it's a crazy world we're living
What?
in.
Hey, send
So
me the. I want to
yeah,
check this idea. Check it out.
I'll send it to you. It's actually insane. So couple of years ago, or this company that we're talking about, the clothes subscription one, it probably wouldn't have worked. But because people don't want to own anything anymore, they don't want to go out shopping, they don't want
Oh
to
my, it's
spend money
cute.
on 6 outfits, they have commitment issues. This company is working and thriving, so you need to show that on this slide. Why now? The trends,
All
the
right, my
timing.
question is, why do I need a why now? Because the reason why I'm pushing back on this is because I've never actually done a why now slide. I always thought problem slide, the problem and the complementing solution slide would cover these things.
Yeah, so I haven't done the why now slide as well before. Now I do them. And I think it adds reinforcement into the investor's mindset as to why will this actually work now? Because they're already skeptical of your idea. They come into it with skepticism. But you telling them, for example, for Swift Ride car subscription, they would say things like, oh, how would you be able to keep track of your cars? Or how would breakdowns and things like that? And how would you be able to give out these cars as efficiently as you say in your pitch deck? And your answer would be 5G. All of these cars now we can equip with advanced 5G telematics that they're so advanced that we can practically tell if the driver farts or not in his car. That's how
Unless you drive
sensitive they
into a
are.
Faraday cage.
We can literally track everything, your seat belt, the engine coolant, and all of this can now be fed into advanced AI prediction systems, which can predictively maintain your car, predict if it's going to blow out a tire. I can now see um, the risk collision rate of all of my drivers, as
Really?
opposed to before. Yeah, as opposed to before, car rental companies just rent out the car and hope and pray, nothing happens. Now, there's all of this risk assessment stuff that you can do from all the data you're gathering. So once the why now slide, I think, is important in that sense that you should be able to state, you know,
So
well, and
are
yeah,
we going to
what,
talk
a-
about
what it is that will help you. And yeah, I don't know how much more to emphasize the why now slide.
the Faraday cage or not?
The who?
The Faraday cage,
I'm not familiar with the Faraday cage.
the cage that blocks all um, frequencies.
Oh, and what is that in terms of the pitch deck?
Ah, no, not the pitch deck. Just one of your drivers driving into one.
One of our drivers, he drove into a house. Well, that's the craziest thing we've had so far, but hopefully not a Faraday cage. Uh, so this slide is going to be subjective. If you have any traction, this is where you're going to put it. If you don't have any traction, at least have some sort of wait list here. Um, if you notice, the text at the bottom says investors invest in lines, not dots. So people want to see basically connections. They want to see how will this list get me this amount of users in how much time, and what are the milestones and stuff like that. Don't just keep random points all over the place. Paint a picture, paint a roadmap for them with this traction slide. So the fun slide now, the competitors. You just need to list out who your competitors are. What are they doing right now in the market? What are they doing wrong? How will they respond to you coming into the market? You need to keep in mind, as the text at the bottom says, that there are plenty subpar products out on the market, and people buy them not because they're amazing products, but because they market them well and people are used to them. So when you come into investing, you can't just tell investors that, oh, this product is bad and my product is better. Well, it doesn't matter. How are you going to,
Convince people
outclass
to,
them? How are you going to outmarket them?
yeah,
You know, talk about specific gaps, and I'll give you an example. um, Instacart. When Instacart launched, it was only in major cities, and another company came out, and I forgot their name, and they just recently raised about 3 billion or $4 billion, and they said, we're exactly like Instacart, but we're not going to be in major cities only. We're going to cater to all of these tiny, mom and pop cities with populations of 80 people and tumbleweed running through, every road. We're going to cater to those cities. And that's it. That's what set them apart, so you need to be very precise with what inefficiencies you are attacking uh, among your competitors. So this slide, of course, again, subjective. Your business plan for very early stage companies, you can just have a really simple table which will just show, a couple of your projections, how much think you're gonna spend or burn through. Like I said, for early stage companies, it would probably be like something like, oh, my week's subscription, paying for my internet bill or whatever it is, just tiny little things, and how you plan to scale them up. For mid-sized companies and late-stage companies, it will probably be a more extensive spreadsheet. Um, I hate doing the numbers. I always outsource that to experts. You always get a good CPA, good accountant, good business guy. They will do you a mind-blowing spreadsheet with all the facts and figures and projections. I got a guy that did one for me for like 15-year projection, and he made everything adjustable. So every year I can add the actual values and it would recalculate the projection, down the line. So it's really great to have that. So slide 11, we've made it this far. The team. So you need to show your core team, your advisors, if you have any, and something, a great mentor of ours, and also the same person who gave us a lot of these pitch deck advice and the template, Landon Howell, who's been 10 years advising at Techstars, which is a really big incubator here in the US. He said to me, if right now somebody from your team comes to you and says they're quitting, and just imagine they come to you and say they're quitting, and in your imagination you don't fight to keep that person or convince them to stay, then they shouldn't be on this slide. So you keep people, or you keep a team that is going to lead you, because it's easy in the beginning to throw together a team of people and be like, yeah, we're going to do a business, but the team will eventually bite you in the behind, because you're going to have people who are lagging, You're gonna have lazy people. You're gonna have people that you thought are experienced but not really, and are not willing to put in the work to expand their knowledge.
And then don't forget the people that don't share in the value of the idea. So I think
Yeah,
for a startup, for that first team, you need that you need to believe in the idea, because I think without that drive, that irrational drive, just it's hard to get through it.
it is. And I think honestly, rarely you will get two or more people that irrationally believe on the same team. It's always usually the guy who starts the startup, that he starts to, drive everyone. And then once they start seeing results, then they now start to
Everybody
come
buys
around.
in from that, fair enough.
But then there'll still be a couple of people who even see the results, but they're still kind of like, on the back, burner. So we'll probably have a separate episode on how to pick your team. But the team is incredibly important because you will end up just doing the work on your own one day if you don't pick a great team. And that's how startups die. You need to be able to delegate properly and work. So the next slide, raising and actions. You don't beat around the bush, you tell them straight to the face. I know it says slide number 9 on the top,
I
but that's a
know.
mistake. You
I
just give
was
it
the
to
one
them
that
straight.
were on 11, and then okay.
Yeah, I noticed. So immediately you give it to them. What do you want? How are you going to use these funds? Uh,
Online.
I found that if you don't beat around the bush, it's very, very effective. You just look them dead in the eye and tell them you need $2 million, and this is what you're going to do with the money. And be very, very, convicted in your timeline and how much money you want. Always use whole numbers and round figures. Use 1.5 or 2 million instead of, I need
One
1
point two
point.
five six seven eight.
Yeah, things like that. I need like 300K or 325,000. Like, just
Eight
use
hundred and fifty.
whole numbers. It looks better in the mind. And that's pretty much it for this. And we'll show you a quick sample from a company called Revolut. Maybe you guys have heard of it, maybe not. I don't know if you can see this. Yeah,
Yeah, we can
this
see.
is Revolut, a sort of, what they call them, borderless banks or e-banks.
Yeah.
One of these banks that are digital banks, basically, pretty popular right now in the UK. And this is the exact pitch deck that they used to raise about 1.5 million pounds. You can see how brutally simplistic um, this
This is
problem
really
slide
fun.
is, and we were not present at the pitching, but we don't need to have been present to understand that, okay, this is their problem, that
Yeah.
people like this are expensive,
Expensive.
people like this are inconvenient,
Inconvenient.
and these guys are
Exactly.
sneaky, and the industry is not disrupted yet. So they sort of switched up theirs a little bit. They first started with the market size before the solution. We kind of had the solution, then the market size, but you get the idea. They showed the market size of 1.4 trillion. They give you how much people or how much is lost due to fees and how much travelers and expats rely on this. Everything's presented, and for their solution they have a mock-up, or they have a sort of demo of their project already there. Oh, and they have a nice little video link attached as well, which is cool. You can do that too. The business model is clearly stated. Again, brutally simplistic. Like this was probably made in, less than a day, and it raised them millions. The pitch deck that we showed you guys, the template, that was also said to have been made off of another pitch deck, which was made in a car on the way to the VC's office in black and white, and that raised about $60 million. So you you really just need uh, just the key stuff on the screen. I mean, look at this marketing thing. Like literally just how you're gonna market things. What is this hacks? It's just some top secret ways of getting your users. So I love this competition slide. I not gonna lie, I adopted the same type. I love that they use a sort of line like this, use cases, difficult to
It's a
expand.
graph, but not a graph.
Yeah, it's an amazing graph, and you have the example use cases here of where you're going to, or where they have sort of met the inefficiencies that these guys have. It's brilliant. Just quick way to see that. Again, the why we're better slide. You show everything just quickly. So a lot of this will depend on you talking. Um, Again, oops, they have the traction slide here, which was, I believe, our slide like 8 or something. And then this is the slide 11, which was slide 9. This is their projections. So I think they already had some traction going in to this. And their ask was 1.5 million. And the use of funds, like we spoke about, they need them to build a team, they need to make a freemium model, whatever it is, and they need to prepare for series round A, which is a nice cheeky way of saying that, hey, after this
Big
funding,
thing, big things
we're
coming.
going, yeah, we're going for bigger bucks.
Yeah.
We don't plan to fail. So, and that's literally the end of the pitch deck. So keep it simple, keep it short, keep it informative and emotional.
So what I find what I was looking for and never saw in both decks is value proposition. The value
Could you
proposition.
expand some more?
Well,
I said, could you expand some more on that?
yeah. So all my past pitch decks always included a value proposition slide.
What's the value proposition for our users? Oh, our
So
subscribers.
it's like the solution,
Mm-hmm.
right? But how I usually present it is the solution and how it will benefit you if you come on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's where I would put all our revenue streams and how we're getting them and all the byproducts, all the little things that I byproduct of. A platform like Hubly now. Part of the unadvertised value propositions or the additional income streams is from adverts, but that's like secondary. The
Mm-hmm.
main thing is this, and then the secondary, because the platform is already there, we can do adverts, we can charge to feature your service, something like that. So that's the slide that I would put those things on.
Mm. I see. So for us, I think we don't have a specific slide for that. That kind of slide gets watered down across
All the
all the slides
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, based on this, my next pitch deck is definitely going to be different. because I've spent weeks and weeks obsessing over every slide of a
Mm-hmm.
pitch deck, and off the back of this, the what this shows me is your one page about the problem or the solution will not change the decision that
Mm-hmm.
otherwise been made. So it's either they like it or they don't, and you never had a chance to convince them to begin with, or yeah, or they can overlook a lot of things because they are invested in the idea and they like the idea and they
Mm-hmm.
think it's going somewhere. So yeah, focus on getting the information across in in a very simple, non-technical, well, at least for this audience, not non-technical, and yeah, and tell a story.
Yeah, and it also helps to save a lot of time because we've been stuck in that situation where we're arguing about colors and designs as opposed to actually, focusing on putting quality, simple content on there,
Mm,
Is this slide matching the next slide? So definitely, uh, my biggest takeaway a couple months ago when I actually got proper lecturing on pitch decks is literally keep it simple. Just now brutally simplistic.
yeah.
That's my way. And if you guys are interested in the template that we use today, leave us a comment in our comment section and we'll post it on our website, which is up and coming, where you can download all our books soon and any of the things we use on the podcast.
Exciting things to come.
Yeah, very exciting. Speaking of books, what's today's book discussion?
I mean, it has to be it has to be Richard Branson because we just finished telling everybody to make it simple.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's the king of making complex things simple in a very effortless way is Richard Branson. I think with all his ideas, he's just trying to solve his immediate problem, and it just turns out that anything he goes after, he has so much energy that he doesn't do it halfway. It's just uh, all the way. My
Mm-hmm.
favorite one is the well, I have a lot of favorites in the book. Well, maybe you should introduce the book before I go
No,
into.
you go ahead. I did the whole pitch deck thing.
All right, so this week's book is Richard Branson's autobiography.
Yeah.
Yeah, um, I think one of three, right?
I think
Yeah, I
this
think this is
one
the
is
first
the
one.
extended edition one that we
Yeah,
read. They sort of merged
oh,
everything.
yeah, yeah. So it's the How I Lost My Virginity,
Mm-hmm.
and basically it follows the story from childhood all the way to first business, all the way to getting to space. So
Literally.
it's the full story with everything in between. I mean, he was brutally honest. I mean, he went he went in and admitted some embarrassing things, some things that I wouldn't think he would have wanted out. But by the end of the book, I realized that he is a different kind of person. Just convention doesn't can't describe him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, So back to my favorite story in the book is the Virgin Atlantic origin story. He was sitting in the airport and his flight got delayed. Actually, got cancelled, and
Hmm.
he really wanted to see his girlfriend that weekend. He was very invested. He just walked into an office and asked if he could charter a plane, and they said yes. He gave them his credit card, and then borrowed a cardboard and wrote Virgin Atlantic. The ticket was it $30, and then went
Yeah,
round the
I think
airport.
it was something small. It was like
Yeah,
32. Was it
yeah,
dollars or pounds?
and that was dollars, I think.
Nah, I think it was because he was going from the UK to
Was he from the
these
UK?
islands in the Caribbean.
No, he was in the US.
I think he was in the one of
Wait, was
he
it
was
that trip?
somewhere.
Well, yeah, was it that trip? Where was it that trip that um when he saw NECA for the first time?
I'm
No, it
not
was a different
sure.
one.
We'll have to double check. But the point of the story is,
Yeah, yeah. Uh, he he um he chartered the plane,
mhm.
wrote on a cardboard slash piece of paper, went round the airport, and he ended up filling the plane that he just chartered. He never did mention if he made his money back, but ended up filling all the seats, and then a passenger that was on that flight made a joke about just a little more work on the service, and you have yourself an airline.
Mhm.
And then that just went because he spent the weekend just thinking about it, and I think by Monday he was on the phone with Boeing talking about leasing planes.
Yeah, that's one thing that really amazed me in the book as well is his ability to see, like I was just thinking if I was in that situation or some other, let's say, random multimillionaire, even though I'm not one yet, it
I
comes
like
up,
that.
charters a plane,
I like the yet.
charters a
Inshallah.
plane. He's able to maybe just sit on it by himself and go, but he decided, let me carry some people with me, and also it will, ease that financial burden of me just chartering an entire plane,
Yeah,
and probably I think he got 15 people, and 15 people maybe $30 or pounds or whatever it is a pop. You already get yourself some money substantial enough to probably have covered
yeah,
some of the chartering fees that he paid. Those are the kinds of things that really impressed me the most about him. Another thing that I really enjoyed was that this man he's a magician. He's just able to do things, especially over the weekend. I don't know how he's able to do things. I can't do anything on the weekend. All the banks are closed, everything. This man will, I remember when I think they were getting their flight license and a
yeah,
bird flew into one of the jet's engines. He was able to, over the weekend, overdraft and borrow some money from the account,
yeah.
order a new Boeing engine from Seattle, and have it there by Monday to
Monday.
meet the deadline. An entire Boeing engine from
Yeah,
Seattle to London, shipped and fitted onto the aircraft, tested. Like that is
yeah.
no small feat.
Yeah, I think he has this fearlessness of failure. He just goes for it,
Yeah.
full ahead.
And I think it's
Yeah,
reflected a lot in his adventures as well. He was into a lot of things like hot air balloon racing. For those of
yeah.
you who are not familiar, it's basically just hot air balloons going around the world or going on absurd trips. And he almost
Yeah,
died
he's
multiple
obsessed with
times in
breaking
different
records.
different. Huh?
He's obsessed with breaking records.
He's he literally he lives in a fairy tale. Once you read this book, I mean, there was that part in the book where he was in the hot air balloon and his mom was flying above in one
in
of
the
the Virgin
Virgin
Atlantic
Atlantic
planes, shouting over the radio, "Go, Richard, go!" I'm
thing.
like, that is like this
Yeah,
man is living the life, you know.
yeah. So, in terms of lessons learned, I think it's go for it, and it doesn't matter if you're not the first in any space, as long as you can make the product, the service, the delivery better, it is worth giving it a try because it's all about the consumers and making life as easy as possible for them. So the courage to actually take chances is a big one for me uh, in with the book.
For me, my biggest lessons was that always have to maintain your gentlemanliness in any situation. Richard was in his book, he had so many beautiful letters he would write to
Yeah,
CEOs, dictators, world leaders, and he would always be, very poised and very, you know, just very gentlemanly. No wonder they knighted him,
yeah,
uh, a lot of good manners. It
yeah.
doesn't matter if your business adversaries like British Airways are spying on you and trying to pay private
Protect business.
investigators to sift through your trash. He would always maintain, his composure. I think only
Oh,
once he lost his cool in the book, and even that, he didn't yell at the guy. He just simply escorted him out of his house. And that's it. He was like, please
yeah.
leave my house.
That was was it the Lloyd's
the,
guy?
the Lloyd's banker
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, I remember. He just put him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was the biggest one. And another one was focusing on the customer and the experience. He
yeah,
would always make the experience great, and then success would be the byproduct of how great the experience was. So
yeah.
once
And how he
people are
takes care of
happy,
his people as well.
pardon,
How he takes care of his
of
employees.
his staff, yes,
Yeah,
he takes care of his staff wonderfully, treats them like family.
yeah,
Uh, so that then reflects in the company's profits. So a lot of companies try to cut down on cost of you know whatever it is, cost of products, which reduces quality, to make more margins. But Richard would always focus on customer service. And another thing, I learned so many lessons, but another thing was, he reinforced my thoughts on keeping a company private. I know a lot of people,
oh yeah.
their dream is to IPO their startup. You get to billions and billions, but when you have investors and a board on your neck, it stops you from
It
stops you
kills
from
creativity.
breathing and
Yeah,
taking risks.
yeah. I think that was the most difficult part for him because he
Yeah,
couldn't take risks.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because he was dealing with people's money and he had a board that had to approve what he was doing. So yeah, he felt very caged.
Yeah, I have, and I could relate with this so much because at one point I used to be a stock trader and I would trade for myself, and I was good at it, and a lot of people would then invest their assets with me to trade for them, and then I started to notice that my performance started to go down because now I wasn't taking risks with my own money. I was taking
Yeah,
risks with others,
yeah,
and after months of struggling, I decided that I'm no longer doing this and went back to doing it on my own, which then again improved my profitability once again. So definitely big one there. And yeah, it's the lessons are just too much. But
Yeah. So, who would you recommend this book for?
uh, this book, not gonna lie, it's a very, very long book. I think it's the longest book any of us have ever read. Um, it's a 27-hour long book if you're going to read it at a moderate
Yeah.
pace. It's incredibly long. So anyone who has
Yeah,
the
but I
patience
think
to
it's
read it,
worth it.
yeah.
And so, definitely, right, for young entrepreneurs, because he went through kind of the making of Richard Branson
Hmm.
from his first venture, the student magazine, to Virgin Galactic, which is the biggest and the most ambitious out of all of them. But the journey from wanting to be a journalist to being on a commercial spaceship uh, to space. So I think while it's long, it is worth a read, no matter how long it will take, at least once. And young entrepreneurs, anybody actually taking out the business and entrepreneurial side of things, just life, because
Hmm.
he he told very nice stories about just persevering uh, issues, dyslexia, people doubting him. His
Hmm.
his actually one of my favorite parts is when his head teacher told him, Branson, you'd either be a millionaire or or, or end up in prison. And yeah, because he's an overachiever, he achieved both. He became a millionaire
Yeah,
and went to prison.
and went
Well,
to
went to
prison.
jail.
Yeah,
So yeah, uh,
yeah.
yeah. So it's worth to read for anybody really.
It definitely hits different if you're a business owner, or a startup person. But yeah, and if you like autobiographies in general, I think it's a great one to read. But I can definitely say not many people will be able to survive the entire book or find so much interest in it. I think you need to like business and autobiographies to be able to read, something of that length.
Yeah. Okay. Um. Yeah, that's everything from me, Sani. You?
That's everything from me too.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, we hope you found everything useful and informative. Are you gonna do the thing?
Yes. Oh, now we're hoping. I hope everybody. I hope. I hope somebody is listening, and I hope you found it useful. If you did, please share. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Getting
Yes,
that.
sir.